Hello, I'm Jane Goldman. I've always been fascinated by psychic phenomena and the paranormal, and I am open-minded, but I'm also one of those kind of people who has a hard time believing in things if I haven't seen them for myself. So that's why I decided to take a very hands-on approach to my investigations into the paranormal. I've asked the experts whether they can teach me 10 different skills, and I've got just a month to learn each one. At the end of the 4 weeks, I'm going to be tested. What have I let myself in for?
This week, I'll be looking back to see who I was before I was me as I investigate the practice of past life regression. Millions of people all around the world believe in the idea of reincarnation. That's the idea that we've all lived before and we'll all live again somehow. A lot of people also believe that through hypnosis and other methods, you could be regressed to actually remember details of those past lives. I wonder what it'd be like to actually look back, find out who you were. Was I a gypsy? Maybe a cowgirl. Or perhaps a geisha. But I could have been a murderer. Whoever I might have been, the idea of uncovering memories from a previous life has become an incredibly popular and quite trendy form of modern therapy. I'd come along to see a session led by Nicola Dexter, who teaches a technique called guided visualization. The idea is that it's possible to solve any problem in your current life by experiencing and exploring your previous ones.
After recalling the past life, all the pain went, she never had the pain again.
The group split up into pairs, and Nicola led them through the visualization technique that apparently enabled them to access memories to their former lives.
I'd like you to begin to imagine that you're going for a beautiful, as you turn, you see immediately that it's a fantastic castle. There are 4 closed doors.
What was going on? Nicola was reading what sounded like the beginning of a fairy story, but it seemed to pull the listeners in an almost magical way.
As soon as you enter, you'll be reliving an important event in a previous life.
I wondered, was the power in the words? Was it in the way they were said? Or was it in Nicola herself?
Do you think that you're male or female?
A young boy, actually.
A couple, 100, maybe 200 years ago.
I feel like I'm kind of living in the wild somewhat.
I don't want to go through this door. I'm so scared.
As I looked around the room, I was amazed that so many young people had taken time out of their undoubtedly busy present lives to spend hours trying to find out if they'd had any past ones. Like most others in the session, my partner, Tony, was hoping to use his past life memories to make sense of a current problem.
I kind of feel we were chased out of where we were before, possibly. Like forced out.
Apparently, in his past life, Tony's family was driven from their jungle home. And it was clearly an emotional experience for him.
Wow.
Wow, Tony.
Crumbs.
Was it really moving?
I am going through something very similar in my life at the moment. We are thinking of moving away to the country. And I'm really in a dilemma as to whether we should do it or not. But it's a big leap. I have to obviously be certain for my family.
When those things were coming to your head, did they feel like memories?
It was kind of like I was in a hazy dream.
Do you feel certain in your mind about what they were, or do you about what those sensations were? Because a psychologist might say,
definitely.
It's a representation. But you definitely feel that it was a past life.
I think it must have been, or even if it wasn't, it's helping me now in this life, so it doesn't really matter if it was or wasn't.
Oh, well, that's all marvellous. And it certainly explains why past life regression is popular as a therapy. But it's not much help if you're really trying to discover the truth. Could it all just be imagination? I wanted to know what had convinced Nicola that these were real past life memories.
Mainly it's because they don't recall choosing or deciding what they're going to think about. Actually, the memories just pop in. And so they're not experiencing the choice or the decisions as you would if you were making up a story.
It felt like being in the theatre and going into a door where there is a play happening and actually watching that play. At times I feel I'm making it up, and at times I feel like it's kind of real. And then at the end of it I feel like, but I wouldn't have made that story. I wouldn't have chosen that story to make it up, you know? I would have made a much prettier story or something like that. So.
Oh, the feeling I got from it, the fear. My hands were all sweaty, and apparently I had a look of intense fear on my face as well. But, you know, it was a situation that I'd rather not have been in. But I wanted to find out more about it.
After the end of the session, while everyone else was comparing notes, Nicola gave me my homework. Apparently the power was in the words, and I could use her magical fairy story to guide other people through past life visualizations, as long as I had the right attitude.
Trust your intuition. And come from contribution, so getting them to forgive themselves, to forgive others, to kind of heal whatever it is that they're recalling.
So not to be sort of cold and analytical, but to be very careful and responsible and make sure that they're not uncomfortable and that it's a positive experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I can hopefully manage that, yeah. Well, that was interesting. I did find that really fascinating, actually. What was curious was the fact that even the people who didn't believe in reincarnation or were sort of undecided, even they came up with things. Everybody came up with things. So still not quite sure what's going on there, but it was an interesting introduction to the whole thing. These are called Phoenix cards. I think the idea with these is you lay them out in lines of 7, and then you're supposed to see which 7 you're most drawn to. This is much more the kind of thing that I've always associated with past lives. I think they're cards that represent different cultures and eras, you know, ancient Egypt and that sort of thing. Those are the kind of things you think about when you think about past lives. Although actually in Nicola's workshop there wasn't anywhere near as much of that sort of thing as I thought there would be. The cards did have some interesting images, but I didn't feel any of them had much to do with any past life I might have had. The popular idea of past life regression is a fairly modern and Western phenomenon. Although lots of religions like Hinduism and Buddhism believe in reincarnation of the soul, nobody really thought it was possible or even desirable to check out your previous incarnations. But it does have some high-profile fans. Actress Shirley MacLaine has written 3 books on her past lives and believes that her former lover, the murdered Swedish Prime Minister, was a reincarnation of the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne. Saddam Hussein believes he was the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar in a previous life. And then, of course, there's the Dalai Lama, chosen specifically because he was identified in a series of tests as the reincarnation of the previous High Lama who had just died. I was keen to find out if the magic words from Nicola's fairy story would work for me. 2 volunteers had bravely agreed to let me lead them through the guided visualization technique. Maybe they'd had lives as kings or emperors, religious leaders. I was hoping to get some juicy past life information from Xanthi and Patricia that I could research afterwards. But there was always the chance that I wouldn't get anything at all. Okay, if you close your eyes, and if you just begin to imagine that you're going for a beautiful walk, and as you turn, you see immediately that it's a fantastic castle. Through each door is access to one of the many previous lives that you have lived. As soon as you enter, you will be reliving an important event in previous life. Do you get any sense of where you are?
Yep, I can see a lake and some green hills.
I can see a road, a street. It's very urban and busy.
Do you know what year it might be or what era?
Beginning of the century, last century.
Feels like a long time ago, 100 years ago, or perhaps 200 years ago.
I've found a bridge, crossed the bridge, I'm walking into a forest.
There's a house. I'm going into it. It's very dark inside.
Find a rope ladder that leads up into the tree. There's a little tree house.
The person you've come to visit, are they here?
Yeah, she's in bed. I think she's ill.
I'm in the tree house. There's a little girl in the corner.
Do you know her name?
Emily.
How do you feel when you see her?
Sad to see her. I think it's the first time I've seen her for a long time.
I think I'm starting to walk back, and I've kind of not taken care to see where Emily is.
If you move forward in time a little, what happens next?
I'm in an open, sort of green place. There's some kind of gravestones.
Do you know what's happened to Emily?
I knew there was something wrong because she wasn't going home. I think that's what I realised. She's running away from something.
How do you feel if you go back to that day?
I think I should have seen her again, but didn't.
She's in a lot of trouble the next day, so they found
How
her.
does that make you feel?
Bad. Guilty.
It's like guilty feeling, really.
As you stand in
I
the
should have
grave.
gone back. I should have gone to see her.
That's strange. They both felt guilty. I wonder if that's significant.
That was really weird.
It sounded very emotional.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Did you feel it related to something that's particularly on your mind at the moment? Or?
That's what I was trying to think. I'm sure it's to do with friends. You know, whether I'm being good to my friends or not.
Should sort of be more responsible in carrying out commitments to people, I suppose. To do things that you say you're going to do and then don't do them because it's not convenient. You know, we all do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hang on, surely that was a bit too easy. I mean, you know, I read out Nicola's thing and tried to do it in the same tone of voice that she'd done it. And again, everyone seemed to come up with something. I guess it's like any visualization or meditation, any kind of relaxation exercise. You know, you're letting your mind drift, and then things pop into your head. Even Nicola says that you know, that's that guided visualization is in a way a lighter way of doing it. It's not like hypnosis, and I guess in order to really go deep, you use hypnosis. I mean, I know Nicola does. Many other people do. I guess that's going to be the next step in my investigation. After the break, it's never worked before, so will it be possible to hypnotise me? And I meet a woman who believes that 400 years ago, she was married to country music megastar Garth Brooks.
That is extraordinary.